What's up, everyone? I'm Erik Stenholm here with my co-host, one of the only men in the world who can say, Luke, I am your father, Joey Moore. Another insane week of NFL action with over 16 hours of Sunday football yesterday. I don't know if you realize that, but it started in London at 6:30 a.m. Pacific and then ended at 10 p.m. Pacific. So 16 hours of football. It's in the books. Normally, you'd think we'd start with the 5-0 Vikings with that big win in London or one of the wild finishes we had in Cincy, Pittsburgh, Houston, Seattle. But nope, here we are, Joey, talking about another Niner collapse. The Niner prognosis right now is not good. Give us your take as one of the pillars of 49er fandom in this country.
I think we should have started with the Vikings. No, I mean just another collapse to just a very inferior team. At least it should be. Definitely didn't look like it in the second half. This one, I mean, I thought the Rams one was awful. This one might have been worse. It was 13 points at home. Yeah, I mean, and in this one, all three phases had their moments of just awful play.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, special teams, we get a blocked kick touchdown. It's like, okay, we made a play. And then, yeah, Jake Moody decides to be a hero, which I respect the fact he's trying to be a football player. But it's just moronic. It's just dumb. Kick the ball and walk off the field. Like, we had to go for it in the – I don't know if you remember, it was the third – or probably think it was fourth quarter. It was 4th and 23. We're kicking, right? No, we can't because we don't have a kicker. And it's like just turnover on downs. I think we turned it over 4 times in the second half. Mm-hmm. Purdy had 2 interceptions. And, yeah, Mason, I mean, a critical – I mean, that's just – it's a couple plays. It sounds like the sky is falling, which, sometimes you think about it, it might be, but – Mason's going in, not on that play, but they're driving and touchdown. They're going up. They would have gone up 8, and then who knows what they do with the extra point. I don't know if they would have kicked. Probably had to go for 2. But at very least, you're up 8. Now, critical fumble. And then, yeah, again, the defense just got worn down in the second half. They did phenomenal against James Conner in the first half. But then I think they were giving up like 6.5 yards a carry in the second half. The heat wore them down.
Mm-hmm. Arizona's used to 100-degree heat. We're not used to that here in the Bay Area. Not very common.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the hottest game on record at Levi's.
Yeah. Not a lot of butts in seats on the far side of the stadium.
No, that's a brutal place to be. And in that state, it's brutal. But yeah, I mean, what did they had nothing to cheer for in the second half.
Absolutely stunning to not put up a single point in the second half against that defense, which I think going into the season was power ranked 30th, 31st, 32nd by everybody. Like, I get it, Jonathan Gannon is supposed to be, a little bit better a coach than we expected when he was initially hired, but to not score a single point. I mean, you can blame it on Moody a little bit for them not being able to kick field goals in certain situations, but man, just an absolute tire fire in that second half offensively, not putting up a single point.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the red zone. They were number 1 in the league last year in red zone efficiency. They're 25th. I'm sure Christian McCaffrey helps, but
it seems like the drop-off from McCaffrey to Mason that we thought was very, very small. Ball security is very important, and he does not have it.
No, that's been like – but again, I mean, McCaffrey fumbled too. He fumbled in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's –
True.
Like I mean, granted, I'm not going to pretend like I wouldn't rather have him. But I think the biggest is just maybe we underestimated what he does for, which no one it's hard to say because like running wise, I don't think there's missing much. Like they were saying, the only difference is like he turns a 25-yard run into a 70-yard run. Yeah, maybe, but how many 70-yard runs do you see in the NFL? Like, very rare.
He just opens up the field for the other players.
It's the passing game. I mean, Jordan Mason is not. I mean, no one is. I mean, Christian McCaffrey might be the best.
I would say other than Marshall Faulk, probably the best ever.
And yeah, that part is a huge drop off, but still, it's like we had like Debo. Ayuk finally. Welcome back to the team, Brandon. Nice to have you.
We missed you.
Debo, like Juwan Jennings, like huge target. Kittle, like we should be able to score. Like, we should be able to score, guys.
And not exactly a bad Purdy game. Like if I
I
told
don't think
you,
it was bad, but PFF had him rated. The only game worse they've had him rated was the Ravens on Christmas, where he threw 4 picks. I didn't think he was like that bad, but I mean, I
just
thought
eye
in the first half
test,
missed a couple guys. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because I was saying before this. I mean, they should, even with everything going on, they should be 4-1 and like being happy with like, man, we haven't played very well, but like, hey, we 4-1, like we'll take it. 2-3, and I mean, tough game on the road in a short week. And I know Seattle. I mean, obviously tough loss to them yesterday, but I mean, you go to 2-4 and 0-3 in the division.
yeah.
Like the Niners haven't won a game against
In
an NFC
conference,
team.
yeah. I just saw that they're 0-3 in conference. So
Their
it's
2
like
wins are against the Patriots and Jets.
unless they not necessarily run the table, but say the rest of the way they go, whatever that would be, 10-1, 10-2, or whatever it may be, you're still going to have a lot of problem with tiebreakers being 0-3 in the conference already. I saw that yesterday. Right now, you're 14th in the NFC because of the tiebreakers, and I was like, how is that possible? But man, if I told you before the season you'd be 2-3 through 5 weeks, and you'd be 3 games back plus the tiebreaker behind the number 1 seed, the Minnesota Vikings, you would call me crazy, but that's where we are. Let's talk about the Vikings. Let's try to get on a more positive note here after that difficult Niners opening segment. The Vikes did not have the fastball. They did not have the curveball. They didn't even have the slider. Sam Darnold was bad. I thought the running game after Aaron Jones got hurt was dismal. And yet, a 23-17 win, largely thanks to the defense. Van Ginkel with a pick 6. Rodgers picked 3 times, including by Stephon Gilmore on the last play of the game to ice it. Flores' defense, I mean, we knew going into the game the plan would be to just pummel Rodgers. He's clearly, got some injuries. Apparently he has a low ankle sprain. He has a knee sprain. He's 41 years old. He's obsessed with conspiracy theories. Time to hit the guy. And that's what they did. I don't know if you saw the meme of him crawling on the sideline like a toddler. Vikings defense did their job. Rodgers got absolutely pummeled in this game. I think eye test said, yes, he still has the zip in his arm, but the dude is so afraid to get hit. He gets rid of the ball so quick. And so many of those were overthrown or underthrown or sailed into double coverage and picked off. I don't want to make this is not a Jets podcast. We're not going to go there yet. Big problems there in New York. And that was not necessarily a vintage Vikings win. That was just us playing against a far inferior team. Crazy to say.
Yeah. Who saw that coming? The Jets are terrible. They're not good. Actually, I'll give them somewhat credit because I mean Minnesota's offense has been humming, and I thought they did better than most teams have done this year against them. But their offense isn't good. I mean, I guess there's talk of them bringing Devontae. I mean, let's just build the Packers on the Jets. He's not going to help. Yeah, Rodgers looked. I mean, he looks like a 41-year-old would look.
We all remember how Favre looked when he played one season too long, and it was not pretty. And that's what I'm looking
like
for.
The one thing he always did was not throw picks, to the point where it looked like he didn't even attempt, throws he probably should attempt, the risk his passer rating or whatever. But
yeah, he had all those seasons with like 38 touchdowns, 5 picks or whatever, and he had 3 in this game alone.
Yeah, I mean, Jets aren't very good, but yeah, I mean, hey, 5-0 heading into the bye week, not much to complain about there.
Yeah, this is what it felt like to be, the Niners last year. I really still can't believe every time I look at our schedule and at our upcoming schedule and at our record, I'm like, how is this happening? Coming into the year, I thought we both picked 8 and 9. We both really like Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores coming into the season. I think we now have a much bigger appreciation for both of those guys for taking a team that preseason win projection was 6.5 after the McCarthy injury. They're already to 5. So, I mean, I don't want to go too deep into the Vikings because they're heading into a bye week. There's not a ton to talk about other than they're 5-0. Let's get healthy. Let's get TJ Hawkinson back. And and just, make sure that Aaron Jones is good to go for week 7 against Detroit, all of a sudden that game becomes just an absolute, I mean, if it's too early in the season to flex it, but that's one of the games of the year right there. If it's the 5-0 Vikes and the 4-1 Lions,
right?
It's in Minnesota. So that would be a big one to open up a little bit of separation between the Vikes and Detroit, having already won the road game against the Packers in the division. Let's talk about week 5 before we get into week 6. Kirk's Thursday night explosion. That's just as a Vikings fan, I liked Cousins. I obviously liked him much more at the end of his tenure than at the beginning. You started to get more of an appreciation for the guy and what he was able to do. I still, for whatever reason, kind of wanted to see him not do so well in Atlanta. And then that just completely flipped this last Thursday. Seeing him lead the fans in that chant where they're going like this and they're moving around, and he threw for 509 yards and 5 touchdowns, and they won the game on a walk-off TD. Good on you, Kirk. Good on you, man. That was really fun to watch.
Watching him on quarterback, like, it's hard to not root for Kirk Cousins. It really, like, not even just the show, but just like, he seemed like a really nice guy. The show, he's like works his butt off. He clearly could play the game, play quarterback. He was a couple of the cut shots I saw, like to Raheem Morris, like he was like Kirk was like running or walking off the field after like a good play. I think it was like when they ran it and clocked it.
With 1 second left.
Raheem Morris was like, he's just like staring. He's like that's so good. He's like, so good, Kirk. Honestly, it's no, it's just
he throws a walk-off touchdown, and they show him running over to Raheem Morris, and Raheem Morris is like, "I love you, man." And I'm like, these guys have known each other for what, like 2 months? It's
cool. It's cool. Like, I hear this with Atlanta more than any other city, and like maybe because it's like Atlanta, but they were like, we need, like, remember like Michael Vick was there, and then I remember when Lamar Jackson where he signed, they're like, go let him be a perfect fit. I'm like, y'all just, it was because he's black, like he's like Justin Fields are like a perfect fit. I'm like, how about Kirk Cousins? And then like, yeah, probably the least quote unquote Atlanta guy you could find. What's he doing? Dropping 500? What, 4 or 5 touchdowns? Yeah. And after he's doing the like swag surfing thing with it's like, honestly, it warms your heart. It's just like, look at this guy. It's like the last guy they would have picked to like bring this city up. And he's like, no, what do you guys got? Like, here goes boop, 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 all over the field, game winner, and he's just like
fucking dropping Cole's cash on all the haters.
And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I love Kirk Cousins.
Cole sent him a bedazzled necklace that said Cole's cash on it.
Yeah, like, even with Minnesota, like, you had the chain, like this, like his teammates. Teammates seem like really like him too.
Yeah,
I mean,
good on you, Kirk.
Atlanta's gone from Desmond Ridder to this guy. I mean,
yeah, anything seems great, but I mean, after that first game,
Baker did really good too. Baker also, kind of did a.
He was great.
Likability.
Yeah. No, that Thursday night game went from who cares to must-watch TV, 36-30 in overtime. Awesome game. Good on you, Kirko. And, hope Atlanta does well this year. Them winning 3 in a row after that really tough start, good for them. Baltimore-Cincy, in my opinion, game of the year so far. Unbelievable fourth quarter with Burrow just exchanging. He throws a 70-yard touchdown to Chase. Lamar goes down the field and ties it. He throws another long touchdown. Lamar comes down and ties it. It gets to overtime on a 56-yarder by Justin Tucker, who'd been struggling all year for long field goals. Nails it, goes to overtime. A critical Lamar fumble at his own 40, and you're like, oh, game over. Damn, Baltimore almost pulled that off. McPherson, it's not his fault. The frickin' holder for Cincy, who, I mean, could have been Jack in the Bum of the Week if we knew who the fuck he was, could not get the ball down, and basically McPherson kicked the ball.
I didn't even see it. Was it a good snap?
The snap was not perfect, but it was good enough, and it was just, McPherson kicks a ball that's flat on the ground.
Well, I guess we'll talk about it, but yeah, I switched to Fox to watch the Niner game. Like literally, like they McPherson went out there. I'm like, all right, Bengals probably going to win. This guy's money from like 50 plus. And then I saw it was like Ravens 41-30. I was like, what? I was like, I mean, I guess he could have missed it, obviously, but I was like, yeah.
Yeah, after he shanked it, just an easy drive there. I think it was just one play. Derrick Henry.
Oh, so he did get the kickoff.
He did get the kickoff, and it sailed, 100 yards to the left. And I was like, what happened there? And then you clearly see he was kicking a ball that wasn't teed up, and you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then the very first play, Derrick Henry runs for like 55 yards, and they just kick the field goal on the next play, game over. So good on Baltimore coming from
I saw
0-2.
They fumbled, Lamar fumbled, and would they just run it 3 times?
The Bengals did, because
I remember them getting criticized like, oh, it's 3 times. Boom, we're just lined up for a cool like 53-yarder.
Yeah, as if that's automatic, by the way, outdoors in Cincinnati, not exactly like an easy place to kick. Yeah, big problems there for Cincinnati, but I wanted to say good on Baltimore for going from 0-2 to 3-2 and really kind of reasserting themselves as maybe the second best team in the AFC. Dallas-Pittsburgh, the Sunday night game, obviously delayed by like an hour and a half because of lightning, so that game went late into the night. It was like almost 1 a.m. Local time in Pittsburgh when Dak hit Tolbert for the touchdown. That was an awesome game. Just two, marquee franchises and a slobber knocker. It was not like one of those, beautiful, like, 36-30 like the Thursday night game, 20-17, and both teams just wanted to run it and not turn the ball over. But that was a really good game. I feel like I learned a lot about both teams in that one. I was worried because we took on the pod Pittsburgh under 7.5 wins this year when they started 3-0. I now understand that team just cannot score points, and that schedule in the second half is as brutal as any team in the league. So I really do think they're going to slide and fall off to at least 7-10 after watching that offense.
A couple things I want to talk about the game that have not really much to do with the play on the field. Number one, I can't imagine watching my team blow it. I don't blow it, but like give up the game winner 20 seconds left and got to go walk out to the parking lot at 1 a.m. I don't know about Pittsburgh where the parking lot is, but if it's anything like Levi's, like you get to your car like 2 o'clock, then you got to go to work on Monday morning.
Brutal.
Like just shoot me. And then we talked about Russ last week being in pads. I saw him again in pads. And you know what got me is like he got the eye black on too. I'm like, Russ,
yeah. Jamie and I watched the start of that game when we got back from pickleball last night. And I go, there it is. I go, we talked about this on the pod last week. Russell Wilson's wearing full pads. And she's like, wait, why? I'm like, he's ineligible to play. If all the quarterbacks get hurt, he still can't go in. He's not on the roster for this game. She's like, why does he do that? I'm like, nobody knows.
You and him have the same amount of chance of getting in this game.
Nobody knows. And the eye black. I mean, really? What are we doing, man?
He's probably like.
Is he self-conscious about how he looks in a hoodie and sweatpants?
No, I'm pretty sure this is what he is because I talked about this. We did some episode last year. We talked about him and really interesting story. I wish I had like the source of where I read it, but there's someone wrote a story about how like his last year in Seattle when it went kind of downhill, this person that was like really close to him in his life died. Mm-hmm. And like he was like his life coach. And like I think ever since he lost him, like his career, like the timelines match up. I'm not saying that's all of it is. I think being in Seattle, Pete Carroll let him, which as he should, he was at the peak of his powers at the time, but he's had to learn a new offense. Like maybe he's not like obviously can best pocket passer, read the defense, all that stuff, but like whatever. I mean, first he was a shoe-in Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't know if he's a shoe-in anymore, but he's still got a pretty good resume.
Yeah, it's close.
But it's just like the end of his career is so bad. Like human people vote for this, they're gonna be like, dude, you were like, and then the pads, like, and then it's like come out. Every guy who's ever played with you like hates you, like all this other stuff. It's weird. Anyways, but I read that. I felt it made me. He felt very human in the article. And it talked a lot about like he's very into like like everything, like that's why it's like words of what do they say, like the
affirmation.
We're speaking. Well, I think like that, like the love language thing. But like like the you know, yeah,
Oh,
basically that.
manifesting.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like just the words shape your mind, shape your
Mhm.
what it's kind of like a cornier version of like when Dion was like, look good, feel good, play good, get paid good,
Yeah.
like that. So he's like, all right, cool. I'm not playing, but like I'm going through my process, got the
Mhm.
everything, and like he's trying to like it's all that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe he's not a person that someone says just dude, let it go, but like I just be like Russ,
It's
like
an odd look.
it,
It's just beyond everything else. If you didn't even know anything about the guy, if someone was like, that guy's not eligible to play, but he's suited up in full pads like he can, you'd be like, is he like a crazed fan that got on the field? Like, what is going on here?
yeah,
But going back to the game, like, I mean, Pittsburgh, I personally, that division, I think it's only going to have Baltimore coming out of it. I think Pittsburgh's going down. I think Cincinnati's got all sorts of problems. Cleveland might be one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the league. And I think Dallas is okay. I mean, if Washington comes back to earth, I think Dallas is much more likely to pip them for the division than Philadelphia is. So, good game there between 2 Super Bowl winning head coaches kind of at the end of their career. That was pretty good. And then I wanted to talk about a little bit about Houston. We picked them on the pod. We went fucking 5-0 last week on our pod picks to get over 500. We needed that badly. But we picked Houston. They really cooled that Bills hype off. I mean, obviously, it was a close game. I think the score is closer than it really was. There was a little bit of a comeback there at the end that had a few fortunate calls for Buffalo, but I think Houston has showed me enough to this point. Their only loss was to the best team in football, the Minnesota Vikings. So I think they're pretty good at 4-1.
Yeah, more interesting for me is like Buffalo. I did not realize Josh Allen was 9 of 30.
Did you see the hit he took? I have never seen a helmet hit the turf that hard.
And they were like, whoop, whoop, didn't see it back out there.
He was back out there 3 plays later. I'm like, that if that's not a concussion, nothing's a concussion. That's as hard as a person's head can hit the ground. And they're just like, throw him back out there. He's an actual Buffalo. I'm like, okay, sure. But man, he had a rough one.
Yeah. Houston, I think, is kind of rounding into what most people thought they'd be.
You were very high on them going into this. I think you had them 12-5. Yeah.
I remember I had them losing the AFC title game to Kansas City. It was 5.
Of course. Who else could you possibly pick? I picked Miami like an idiot. Jaden Daniels, man, he looks to this point. Obviously, there's still 12 games to go. To this point, as good, if not better, than CJ Stroud did last year as a rookie. We're talking 80% completion percentage through 5 weeks. Still only has 1 turnover. He's running all over the place. Like, Washington could be for real, dude. Like, we had them over 6.5 wins. Obviously, they're going to sail way over that. They're a really good team. The defense has been getting better throughout the season. I thought they were pretty bad at the beginning of the year. That's ceiling for them if Daniel stays healthy. Holy moly, is he really good?
Yeah, I mean, they're the favorite division for me right now. Well, record-wise, probably a lot of people's eyes. No, he's been awesome, better than awesome. Maybe Brandon Ayuk wishes he went there. Sneaky player for Devontae, although I wouldn't do it if I was them.
Yeah.
Like, you're kind of ahead of your curve. What are you going to do? Give a bunch of money to him? Because, to justify what the Raiders are going to want, Washington's probably going to want to keep him for 1 more year. He's got no money after this year. What does he want? 30, 35 million? No, thank you.
They got the cap space. That'd be interesting. I didn't even think of that.
Plus, it just throws off the team. I was just like, he comes in here like people are gonna. Oh, now we got to throw him the ball. It's just you're scoring points. What do you need him for?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if the Kingsbury offense actually maintains this level of success throughout the season. Because right now, not only is he, I think he's like minus 400 or something to win the Rookie of the Year. He's like 11-1 to win the MVP. That's how good he's been playing. We were talking about that for maybe 1 or 2 weeks last year with CJ Stroud when there was that dip where people were like, "Oh, it can't be Purdy, it can't be Lamar, it can't be McCaffrey. Who's it going to be? Maybe it's CJ Stroud." But then obviously he got hurt, and then it ended up going to Jackson. I'm like, man, if Daniels continues playing,
this might be another year of kind of not great candidates.
Yeah, Mahomes still the favorite, and I mean he's been good. He has not been Patrick Mahomes level good, and he's still the favorite. And Allen,
It was Josh Allen like a third. I was like, all right, and then
9 for 30 doesn't
9 for
help.
30. No, thank you.
Yeah, good showing by D'Amico Ryan's defense to kind of turn the tables on Josh Allen there. Let's take a look at Week 6 before we get into Joey's Jack and the Bum of the Week. We got to talk first about Thursday Night Football. It's the first time either of our teams has been on TNF. Those games are weird. They are always weird. Teams on 3 days rest in the NFL. They look slow. They look sluggish. They look sloppy. It's a kitchen sink game for Shanahan right here. This is like, if you lose this one, the season from hell is on, and it's like the end of an era is possibly on. You got to expect everything in this game from the Niners. This has to be everything you got in that playbook. Shanahan's got to come out in this game.
Yeah, I mean, both teams really, because I mean, if you're Seattle, you're probably like, all the Niners have blown. The Niners season feels like it's all off the rails. And it's like, you win Thursday, and you're like, okay,
we're in first.
Yeah, it's like, let's take a breath here. If you're Seattle, you start out 3-0, and like now you're tied with its team whose season was like 2 days ago in the trash can. So I mean, obviously, divisional game, expect them to play well, play their best. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge game. It's a huge. The last couple of years, the Niners have kind of had Seattle's number a bit, but
you will be able to score points on that Seahawks.
That's what Mike McDonald was obviously the guy with the Ravens who, I mean, shellacked the Niners on Christmas lives, but a little different personnel.
Very different. Those last 2 weeks for the Niners, making Daniel Jones and Jared Goff look like Montana and Brady. I mean, Evan has been texting me about the Seahawks quite a lot lately, and it's been, I mean, he is not the biggest Geno guy, but he every week is like, Geno was incredible. Geno was
fantastic on Monday night.
You're like, you can't criticize him at all, but he's like, yeah, this defense is just an absolute sieve, just Swiss cheese. I'm like, oh, tough look.
I don't think the Niners has been much better. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, tough building to play in, obviously. I mean, especially those teams with like Russ would be like, this just sucks. This place just sucks.
The one thing that they still have is, I mean, Kenneth Walker is a really good running back, and they got 3 elite wide receivers that just do a great job, whether they can protect Geno and whether they can keep the Niners from scoring 30-plus points. That's the thing. It's like,
I don't know. I mean, the Niners pass rush has been just, I mean, they don't have the personnel they used to, but and I know he had a pick yesterday, but like Bosa had 2 pressures and 3 missed tackles.
Since he signed that contract, I mean, just.
Well, I was listening to a couple like Niner post-game stuff, and like it goes without saying, because you feel this like in other sports too, when you actually feel it more because they're not a lot of football, isn't guaranteed contract-wise. Like now the Niners have like paid everybody, right? Like, what's the motive? Like I don't want to say like Bosa got paid. Motivation's not there. I mean, I that's hard for me to cross a player when I'm not seeing him like look fat or something. Like, like
right.
I don't know football enough to like, oh, he picks up.
It's not an Albert Hainsworth situation.
Yeah, it's not like I watched Chase Young for a couple games. I'm like, what are you doing? Chase Young had his shirt off, and you're thinking this guy's a freak athlete, right? I'm like, dude, you don't look that much different than me. And I know I am. I'm like, Bosa like is Mr. like fitness. I'm like, dude's probably got like 0% body fat. Like, I don't know how to tell, but it's not just him. It's like, okay, you got paid. Well, finally, welcome to the team. McCaffrey got a raise this offseason. People forget that. Well, is he going to play again? That's not effort, obviously. Like, Fred Warner's highest, I think he might be still highest paid line. He's earning it. He is.
Yeah, I mean, again, yesterday. I mean,
but like yesterday, did Deebo Samuel play? I don't know. Like, and to be fair, there's a lot of games that but it's just like something is off. Something is just off. This feels like the last year under Harbaugh.
Yeah, 2014.
like when they had high-ish expectations, like
coming off a 3 straight NFC championship,
but like they
appearances,
finished 8-8, and it was just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what this team's way too talented to finish like 5-12.
Yeah.
But like 8-9, 9-8, not off the table.
Absolutely not. And it's more.
I mean, if you lose tomorrow or Thursday, I mean, you get the next games are Kansas City, Dallas, Tampa, Seattle, Green Bay. Which again, I mean, still like when the Niners play well, especially if McCaffrey comes back, which I read something he might be back week 7, 8. I still think that's nuts. I don't think that's about. But like again, right now I'm hoping like okay, win Thursday. It's like take a breath,
after the New England game,
win your division and the 4 seed is there, and like. Or like maybe we're the team like we could get healthy end of the year, sneak in, and like we're the team the 2 or 3 seed does not want to see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're seeing Minnesota because Minnesota's gonna have a bye.
God, I hope so. No, it's weird because last week we're like, okay, you have to have this Arizona one after the Rams loss. It's like you have to beat New England, and then you have to beat Arizona, and then you can go from there. It's like, okay, now you have to beat Seattle.
This feels so much like in 2021. I actually went to that game. Then when we were talking about when Kyler didn't play, Hopkins didn't play, and we're like, okay, we'll win this game. We'll get to 4-4, and like, all right, let's go. Yeah. No, they got mollywopped and went to
by Colt McCoy. Yeah,
and you're like, what the hell?
And you're like, where do we go from here? I'm
pretty sure that was the year we finished. We lost the Rams NFC. You tell me we lose the NFC title game today, I'll take it because right now we look like we're picking 10th.
Yeah, I'd take it too, as long as that loss in the NFC Championship game is in Minnesota. So Vikings on a bye week. Hawkinson apparently is going to be back for week 7. Excited for that game. We'll get into that more next week. Let's talk about some of the marquee games on the week 6 schedule. Washington at Baltimore. Over under set at 52. Bet that over. I'm not going to put that as one of our picks. This game could be like 45-41 with the way these offenses are playing right now. Baltimore's running for like 250 plus every game, and Washington they don't punt. Like their punter they don't even need to sign one. That's going to be a freaking awesome game. Apparently, I was listening to a couple pods, and they're like, this is a rivalry that nobody knows about. Like Washington fans and Baltimore fans dislike each other. I'm like, interesting. This will be like a feisty.
Wasn't it kind of like A's Giants?
Yeah, it's just like, they're only 40 miles away. Yeah, they just don't like each other. I'm like, sweet. Like, let's see some animosity. Speaking of, complete tangent, maybe we could save this for later, but these Padres-Dodgers games are awesome. Like, the fans hate everything about the Padres.
I don't know why. This would be a huge tangent because I think I texted this to you. I've actually watched more baseball the last couple of days than I have like in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like the A's, it's like them. It's like I could move on like that because like that still was my team, even though it's like hard to watch. Like you're leaving. This whole thing is just weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It makes me not like baseball. It makes me like now that they're like gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are. Like still might not. Like are they? It's like it's like okay. Like I'll just watch like the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still enjoy like we talk about like all the corporate like. The billionaires, all this stuff. But it's like I still like as a kid hitting the ball, throwing the ball, catching. Yeah. Like it's like
watching a pitcher who can throw 101. You're like, this is exciting.
But the way baseball is played in the playoffs, like that's what needs to be played more often. It's hard to play like that, 162 games a year. But like there's not just bunt. Like you'll see like a stolen base, a bunt. Like the Phillies Mets game, like great. Mm-hmm. It's like baseball. I'm watching baseball again, not like a home run strikeout derby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but Padres not, huge.
Just animosity all over the place. The players hate the fans hate the players. The teams hate each other. Fans hate each other. Oh, it's so good.
Former A profile robbed that home run and like staring down the. I'm like, what are you? I got to be honest. Like, it looks like, what are you saying? Are you saying anything?
And then
probably getting suspended if you're like saying like.
I saw the video. He's just like, yeah. He's just like, yeah.
Whatever. Oh, okay.
And then later he comes out, and the guy he caught the ball in front of. He gives him a ball as like oh, this is baseball. It's a nice gesture. The guy throws it right back on the field immediately and then grabs a ball from someone else and tries to peg Profar with it and gets kicked out of the stadium. Profar like calls the umps over. He's like, that guy threw a ball at me. And then the whole rest of the game, everyone's booing Profar and just like screaming at him. People are throwing stuff at Tatis. A guy threw a beer at Tatis in right field, and Tatis did like the pelvic thrust at the fans. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, this is baseball. This is what I used to like.
It's good for baseball. Well, you got to look too. They got Padres, Dodgers, which Dodgers are a huge deal. Then they got Philly, New York. The Yankees are still, other than the Yankees, like who no one cares about. Kansas City, Cleveland, and Detroit. Yeah, really, but. I mean, baseball would love a Yankees-Dodgers World Series.
Oh, yes, they would, and they may not get it because they're both.
Or Yankees-Mets.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick right now, I think the Mets are coming out of the NL just the way that the whole thing. But they just feel like the team.
I thought Pete Alonso's home run against the Brewers. Like I'm like this is what you dream as a kid.
Yeah, if only the A's would have got one of those at some point, just a big. Series-defining home run.
I could be wrong. This is football pod, but I could be. I saw that was the first ever in the history of baseball, which has been around like a billion years. The first ever like home run in the ninth inning that you were down and then made you ahead, not like tied it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear that? Is that like?
Oh, it was the first ever.
Like took your team down in the ninth inning and then took the lead with one swing.
Yeah, I think it was the first ever down by 2 or more.
Oh, but down by 2.
3-run, yeah. And
so
I'm
there had been like down 1, you hit like a 2.
Because like the Joe Carter home run to win the World Series for the Blue Jays in whatever 93, they were down 1 and he hit a 3-run homer to win the World Series. And they were like, this is the first time anyone's ever been down multiple runs and then a home run won them the game. I'm like, good for Pete Alonso. Anyway, back to football. It's a football pod. A lot of animosity in that Washington Baltimore game. That's going to be a great one. Detroit, Dallas. Go Cowboys, go. Like if Dallas wins that one, man, that really helps the Vikes a lot heading into that game. And then Monday Night Football, which I do want to talk about. Buffalo at the Jets. Everybody is kind of pulling their position off of Buffalo right now after 2 straight losses. The Jets, I've watched most of the Jets games this year, having the freaking Sunday ticket package. This is the first time I've watched every snap of a Jets game because the Vikings were playing them. They suck. Saleh is like, okay, his defense is pretty good. As a head coach, as a CEO, awful. He's in the 20 worst coaches of all time in terms of winning percentage as a head coach. You know who else is also on that list? Nathaniel Hackett, their offensive coordinator. The Jets suck, dude. Like, if Buffalo comes out, and let's say Allen's healthy. Hopefully he didn't get a concussion in that last game, although it certainly looked like it. Let's say Buffalo gets up 17-0 in the first half. This thing is going to unravel, and you are going to look like a freaking soothsayer, dude, with your 6-11. Like, the Jets have major problems. Yeah.
Oh, I picked worse. It might be worse. What are they, 2-3?
2-3, and the meat of their schedule is coming up. I mean, you can only play New England and Miami.
It's going to be an ugly-looking 6-11.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I really want to take Buffalo in that game.
The whole thing is just, I don't know the right word. Like, it's just so opposite of like how it's just team building philosophy. Like, it's just like, we're in trade for Devontae Adams. Like,
it's like that. Remember that Eagles?
You had to have Alan Lazard. You had to have like Randall Cobb. Like,
remember that Eagles team with Michael Vick where they started adding superstars late in the offseason?
One that they were like called the Dream Team with like Nnamdi Asomugha.
Nnamdi Asomugha comes in and he goes, God, now they got me. This is a dream team. And then they went like 7-9 or whatever.
He was terrible.
Yeah, it's really feeling a lot like that. And if Devontae Adams comes in, it ain't gonna change.
I'm like, what? No.
Oof. Let's get to the Jack and the Bum of the week. A lot of candidates here. I'm just going to rip through them, and then you can make a decision. Kyle Shanahan, I mean, to blow 2 double-digit leads in the second half at this point of the season and not score a point in the second half against what I think is a pretty bad Arizona defense, horrible showing from him. You know that better than I do. Deshaun Watson, I mean, nobody is getting more shit this week than Deshaun Watson, and rightfully so. He's been maybe the second or third worst player in the NFL this year, and he's getting paid the second or third most of any player in the league. Like, just an absolute bum and another listless performance. He absolutely refuses to throw the ball downfield. I guess he leads the league in lowest average depth of target. He throws it like 1 yard past the line of scrimmage on average. He's been awful. Mike Tomlin, I thought he mismanaged the end of that Dallas-Pittsburgh game. He's so conservative, and it's like, I get it. His teams are always in every game, no matter how bad their roster is. But man, he just wants to run Najee Harris into the line 93 times a game. It's just the game's passing him by a little bit. Aaron Rodgers, for obvious reasons, he sucked in that game. It's time to call it a career there. He's cooked. And then the one that I would have picked if I was picking Jack in the Bum of the Week, the NFL for doing these 105 starts. Like, I just hate it. Like, you're watching 4 games in the early window all end at the same time. This time it was Buffalo, Houston, and Cincinnati, Baltimore were awesome games that, like, everybody wanted to see what happened, who's going to win in overtime, or is Fairbairn going to make that 59-yard field goal, whatever. By the time those games ended, 2 of the other games already had multiple touchdowns scored in them that we missed. I'm like, just start every game at 125. Every game starts at either 10 or 125. Get rid of these stupid 105 starts. But Joey, the floor is yours for your Jack in the Bum of NFL Week 5.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just again, I feel like it's the same people every week.
Trevor Lawrence won, so you can't pick him.
I know. But honestly, the Niners are just so disappointing. I just don't know if I could put it all in one guy. I'll give them one. If they have another one, Seattle, they'll be the bums for a while. But my first initial when I was thinking about it, it has to be Deshaun Watson. I don't even have the word. It's an abject failure everywhere. And it's a failure that you can't possibly fix for like 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And they know it. It's come out repeatedly that they did not even offer Joe Flacco because they know he's better. It's just, you can't convince me that Jameis Winston or even the other kid, Thompson Robinson, it's just awful. You can't tell me you're a teammate. You want to even be in a meeting room with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
More lawsuits are coming, alleged, more women, now I got one today. I don't know if you got it. It's resolved.
Yeah, he paid somebody off today who he reportedly sexually assaulted 4 years ago. It never ends. He's got to be the most just plain disliked player that we've seen in the NFL in a long time, because even fans of his own team despise him. He's the worst. First of all, he went to Cleveland against Kevin Stefanski's wishes. He didn't want him. And the owners, the Haslams and Paul DePodesta from Moneyball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they brought him in. They're like, okay, here's your quarterback. Yeah.
Did Barry want him, the GM?
Wasn't it a decision? Essentially, every decision there is made by Paul DePodesta, who's played by Jonah Hill in Moneyball. He runs everything there. Yes, there is a GM who does player evaluation, but he makes all the decisions on bringing Moneyball into football or whatever. And clearly, the fit with Stefanski's offense is awful, as we saw last year when Flacco came in and just ran that offense beautifully. The fit with the city is awful. Everyone hates him. He's getting paid close to $60 million a year to be one of the worst players in the league. He's a bad person.
Does Jamie watch Selling Sunset? Or do you guys watch it?
Yeah, she watches it. Yeah.
He's on the show.
No.
Yeah, I saw him. Literally, this year they started bringing out there trying to get people like you and me to watch. Which, I'll be honest, I'll trust me. When the Niners blow a 13-point lead, there's nothing more I'd like to watch than stupid television. I just want to watch stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that on. I was watching it. There's one episode. Well, I knew one of the people, one of the chicks on the show, her ex-husband is Johnny Football.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, he's there, he's cool. And for his flaws, Johnny Manziel's seemed like a just maybe misdirected guy at some point in his life, but like
just
I
to
can hang with him.
Yeah.
I can hang with him. Here comes Deshaun Watson with like his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I literally, you know, the meme, the Leonardo DiCaprio one where he points like, oh, what? I was like, what's
he doing there?
And I was like, what are you? Who are you, lady? Like, when is this film? Like, what's going on? I was like, it's Selling Sunset's like, you put this guy. He's like, yeah, man, I just moved to LA, you know, like just somewhere going off season. I'm like, yeah, you fit in LA. Like,
hide your kids, hide your wife.
I just like, I don't know. It's just like now, yeah, I just so bad. I couldn't. That makes football. That makes sports not fun. If you're like a Brown, like you like, like one thing your team's bad, then you just feel like just dirty.
Yeah.
Like you just feel like
the complete opposite would be, say he's playing at an MVP caliber level and the Browns are 5-0. Then you're like, well, on the one hand, he's amazing.
You could get a lot of people to what happened? Nah, you sure?
Alleged.
You sure they didn't, you know?
But when you're the worst player in the league, everybody's like, God, I hope he gets hurt. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, well, like, now it's like, God, if someone could just sue him again and they could just terminate his contract.
There are so many rumors that have come out that the reason that they're not turning to Winston or Thompson Robinson or, you know, why they didn't re-sign Flacco is their hope is that he gets hurt long term and can get out of that contract with, you know, an injury designation. And I'm like, what kind of organization are you running over there? Like,
oh, I think they're much like I think it's very possible. Like I mean, even with the most recent one, I thought like, boy, if I was Cleveland's lawyers or whatever they've got, like something in this contract.
Yeah.
Contract detrimental to everybody.
Give him the Romeo Dobbs suspension, you know, conduct detrimental to the team and everyone he's ever met. You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, there's Joe's Jack and the Bum of the Week, Deshaun Watson. Never has there been a more deserving Bum of the Week than that guy. Let's go to my You Like That picks of the week. We are now 13-11-1 on the season because we went 5-0 last week. We absolutely had to have it. We had a very slow start to the season through 4 weeks. We went 5-0. Vikings, Washington, Baltimore, Houston, and Dallas all came through for us. Most of those were relatively easy, and we didn't have to sweat them out. Obviously, the Dallas one was a sweat, but we needed that 5-0. We started slow. I really feel good about this week's picks as well. There's just a few lines that I saw that they just didn't make any sense. So Jacksonville, Chicago, the over-under was set at 43. I really like the over there. I just think Jacksonville's defense is awful. Did you see Flacco in the fourth quarter just long bomb after long bomb after long bomb? They scored, I think it was 21 points in like 6 minutes. Like that Jacksonville defense is so bad. And they show that stupid Jacksonville defensive coordinator over there with his stupid mustache just looking like, how do they keep doing this? And I'm just like, man, that team is just so bad. I like the over in that game with how bad Jacksonville's defense is, and Chicago's starting to wake up. Caleb Williams actually looked pretty good last week. Cleveland at Philly. We just started talking about how awful Cleveland is and how awful Deshaun Watson is. I am putting this in our picks because Philadelphia should not be favored by 8.5 against anybody. Give me Cleveland plus 8.5 there. I just do not trust Philadelphia to win by margin against anyone with how they're playing right now. Yes, they're off a bye, but did you see how Jalen Hurts has looked the last 3 weeks? He cannot be favored by double digits against anyone. Come on now. Atlanta, Carolina, under 48.5. That line, I would not be surprised if it closed at freaking 40. It's going to be horrendous weather there, outdoors. I just think Atlanta on the road on grass versus at home, they're just not going to score a lot of points. And then Carolina is just their offense is terrible. I'm taking Carolina in the game just because I think this is like a 13-10 or 13-7 type game. I'll take Carolina plus 6 at home. Again, another one. Atlanta should not be favored by 6 or 6.5 on the road against anyone. They're just not that good a team. Obviously, Kirk is very good, but Buffalo minus 2.5 on Monday Night Football. We are fading the Jets. We're going to fade the Jets until we're proven otherwise. Every time we bet against them, we win. We're just going to keep doing it. So there's you. You like that picks of the week. A different flavor this week with a few underdogs. Jacksonville, Chicago over 43. Cleveland plus 8.5. Atlanta, Carolina under 48.5. Carolina plus 6. And Buffalo minus 2.5. Joey, it's time for your Feels Great, baby. Your wildest take you feel best about currently. Where are you going with this one? Because there's not a lot to feel great about over in Ninerland.
No, this one might be pretty wild. I didn't write it down because I actually came up with it. It's pretty wild, but I think Mike Tomlin gets fired.
Okay.
Like,
wow.
Not during the season, because that's just really not how they operate in Pittsburgh. Because I think they also gave him an extension, too. Before the year, could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to kind of ward off because he was in the final year of his deal.
Maybe that's their, like, peace offering to him. Because, like, obviously, I mean, he's done a lot for the team, the city. But, yeah, we talk about, like, the league kind of passed up Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really like Mike Tomlin. I really do. But just, like, I'm seeing the same movie, like, what it feels like for
a decade, yeah.
And I don't know. I think just with the quarterback play, I think some of the quotes, people like who really know football and like offensive football, they're just like, this is like pee-wee level football on offense. Like you said, run Najee Harris 93 times of the back of the guard. Like,
Shake it up every once in a while with a 3-yard dump off to the tight end to Freiermuth. Wow.
Yeah. And like, I'm not blessing. It's the opposite. It's like a curse. Like the fact they keep going like 9-8 or like 8. It's just like, because if they'll never bottom out.
You never get truly impactful talent. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, really good. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're going to do some sort of, I don't know if fire is the right word. Maybe they do some sort of like, hey,
time to part ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Mutual.
Because it's just, as we said before the season, that second half schedule, like there is a 6 or 7 game losing streak possibility there to end the year. Like the schedule is really bad. The offense is atrocious. We said before the year, we're like, Arthur Smith, is that really like how you're going to solve your offensive problems that you've had for a decade? You sign in the guy whose entire dream is to run the backup running back 43 times. Like, oh man. It's just, even in the wins, like against Atlanta, the eye test says, other than TJ Watt, who is, I mean, you can make a solid argument as the best player in the NFL. It's just so bad. It's so bad there in Pittsburgh. And Russ is about to come back this week.
Yeah, he's been ready. You don't have to get ready because he stays ready.
He sleeps in his pads. That's what I've heard.
Does high knees in his pads? No. Wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking about it, like the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me thinks like this is Sean McVay's last year because I don't even know if he likes it that much anymore. Just because I'm sure these TV places are throwing huge money at him.
15-20 million a year.
At least.
Yeah.
Oh, he sees Tom. Like he'd be way better than Tom Brady. Well, I think he's gotten better. Like since obviously first time. He honestly might immediately become the best guy on TV. With his personality, how well, obviously, what his knowledge, everything. I was just thinking too. There's like other coaches, like potentially. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some crazy.
So I'd say the next 3 weeks for Pittsburgh, not horrible. At Raiders, home Jets, home Giants. Really not that bad. Then at Commanders, which before the season we were like, oh, they should be favored in that one. They're going to be like 7-point underdogs in that game. Then the Ravens, then at the Browns. Okay, not that bad. At Steelers, Browns again, at Eagles, at Ravens, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. Like, good luck. 7-10, 6-11 incoming. Maybe they sweep.
I'm just looking at the standings. What if Cleveland gets like the first pick?
Oh man. Now there's a good one for you. Cleveland will go 1-16 or something, 2-15. Because at some point, wouldn't they love to just tank? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and get Shedeur Sanders or whoever and tell Deshaun, oh, sorry, we like this young kid.
Speaking of, no, I'm not trying to get on a tangent or like just off. Like I saw Shedeur. What? Did something happen between him and Cam Newton?
I didn't see that. No.
So I saw a video of like something. Cam Newton walked up to Shedeur and he acted like Cam Newton was the plague.
Really?
It wanted nothing to do with him. He's like, you weird, bro. Like,
must have been something with Cam and Dion then.
I don't know. I was reading comments trying to get it. I think Cam said something about I don't know, and they said like he's like, no, we'll talk about it like off camera. And I'm like, for a guy, him and his dad, their whole life's been in the camera. To be like, no, off camera, like, no, this is. I don't know. It was interesting. It was like uncomfortable video.
Yeah.
Like to watch. Like I don't you like.
Oddly enough, I like Colorado +6 against Kansas State. I actually bet that already. Like the more I look at Shedeur Sanders, I'm like, okay, there's not a lot of good college quarterbacks, and he's definitely one of them. So like, I've been liking them.
Yeah, deserves a lot of credit for this turnaround because they were bad.
They were bad last year in the second half, and they've actually been pretty impressive other than the Nebraska game. So good on them. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel like Tomlin's era is over. Like the Belichick Tomlin style of football is just gone.
You want to come coach defense over here next year, Mike?
Yeah, there might be an opening in multiple positions there in San Francisco, depending on how this goes.
Some people would like, yeah.
From a team in the Niners at the end of their competitive window to a team in the San Jose Sharks who are supposedly at the beginning of a new one. Joey, let's do a quick primer. I'm putting you in charge of this segment. Hockey starts again. I guess they already did 2 games overseas, but starts again in earnest tomorrow. And then the Sharks' first game is on Thursday against St. Louis. Going into this hockey season, anything that catches your eye? What do you think about the Sharks' prognosis and year 1 of the rebuild under a new coach?
Well, I really don't have too many expectations on the on-ice product. I'm just really excited that the mojo's back. It sure seems like it. A little bit of a scare with Celebrini going into the boards and like
lower body.
I was like, okay, well that's let's put like a
wrap them in bubble tape.
That was a sobering thing. Like, oh my god, just like not even just on the ice, but just like.
Like the Vikings with McCarthy, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, people are excited. I mean, really tough draw for the Sharks that Celebrini in their opener is not only the same night of the Niners Thursday night game, just local like eyeballs, but it's on ESPN Plus. So, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, they should be hopefully better. Do I think they make the playoffs? I think that's an incredibly low probability of happening. But I think they'll be better. I think they'll be more fun to watch.
Consensus among Sharks fans seems to be that they like the hire of the new head coach.
Yeah, he's a guy who comes from a lot of good head coaching, trees, or at least what was the word? What do they call it? Like
pedigree? Background?
No, it's like
philosophy?
Yeah, probably. Like they always say like on the resume put like resource, like he worked like when he was with he worked in the AHL with Charlotte, the head coach of the pro team, Carolina, Rod Vandermoor. Would have hired him if he was available. So probably they're in meetings going over stuff. I know he's worked closely with like Mike Sullivan. Great track record in the end, like stuff like that. Weirdly enough, that it's come out that he runs an incredibly hard training camp. I don't know what the basis of that is, I don't know if we're just running bag skates every day, but like other players who come from other teams have said, yeah, it's been a really tough training camp. His press conference was overly emotional, which I actually kind of liked. He seems like a very personal, like he can connect with very, you know, whether the young guys, old guys, whatever. I'm excited. I mean,
he gets a lot of the credit for the turnaround of Carlson before they traded him.
Yeah, I mean yeah, we'll see, but I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know. It could. I'm just glad that it's not stale anymore. Like the
Yeah.
team. And yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Mike Grier deserves a lot of credit because this team was going absolutely nowhere fast, and they're probably going nowhere this year. But I mean, by all accounts, I mean, they have one of the best prospect pools in years. Any team, like, if you read that stuff, like they're number one, and it's not close.
So obviously, you got Celebrini, as the number one prospect on the team. Who else should Sharks fans be excited about going into the season? Is Eklund seen as post prospect now?
Yeah, he's not
really.
Still in? Yeah, he's probably the first guy like of this group, but not really a prospect. I would call him anymore. But number one, yes, Celebrini. Number two, Will Smith. And then number three is the goalie they just traded for, who's eventually to get here, Askarov, who was number one goalie prospect in the league. Nashville signs Saros for an 8-year ticket. He's like, I'm not playing the AHL anymore. He's like, basically demanded a trade, and the Sharks pounced, and essentially they gave up for him exactly what they gave up for Hurdle. So we traded Hurdle for this kid.
And will he play on the Sharks this year, or is he going to?
He'll play on the team this year. I don't know if he'll be the number one guy. I mean, depends. I think that's up for debate. He was hurt, and I think he's with the Barracuda right now. But
so it's Blackwood and Vanasek start the year, but they're just keeping the seat warm.
I want to see the kid as early as possible. I don't know if that's best for his development, but
get his ass out there.
I mean, yeah,
it's just be exciting to see some new names and some guys that have a high ceiling. Because man, we haven't seen shit for 5 or 6 years. Someone with a high ceiling.
It's just hard because do I think finishing 10th in the conference is obviously that's better, close, seeing progress, but if we don't get off to a hot start, really try and compete potentially for the last playoff spot or something, I also would not mind picking really high again and then being okay, now we're definitely not picking high again.
Right.
I don't know, just one more blue chip prospect, and then we turn into the Colorado Avalanche that had Landeskog, McKinnon, Makar, all these guys. It just and then Florida's now got it. They have Barkov, build through the draft, and one more guy would be holy crap.
What are some of the big hockey storylines heading into the season? Obviously, for me, someone who I pay attention to only the Sharks and really not much else, I guess Ovi's chase of Gretzky would be number one, right? He's 41 goals away.
41, 42, something like that. Yeah, that's probably the biggest storyline that, I'd say most people will be talking about. But no, I mean, I'd say Toronto's always a big story. We'll see. They stripped captaincy from Tavares. They remind me so much of the Sharks, just the same group trying to get over the hump and
stripping the captaincy from Thornton.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We'll stripped it from two guys. Yeah. No, and then I think Edmonton. McDavid's always a story. See if they can. They impressed me last year in the play. I did not think they had the team to do it. I thought they had a couple of the best players in the league, but they're we'll see what it's hard to, because hockey's just so there's so much parity. It's I don't know. But Yeah, Florida. I mean, recent Florida and Tampa in the East, like, probably not super happy. The leagues like keep going to Florida every year.
Got the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah, Utah, which I actually think would be pretty decent. Utah.
So that's essentially the Coyote roster, but
Oh yeah,
under new ownership, new everything. Yeah. And they settled on hockey club, or is that a place
for this year.
Okay.
They said that they want to really think about it. So they're the Utah Hockey Club this year, which is I think that's one of the final 6 they went down, like names. They asked the fans. That's one of them. The others are Utah Yeti, Utah Outlaws, Utah
Mormons.
Blizzard. Probably was wrote in, but
Sister Wives.
Yeah. What is it?
Non-alcoholic
I said
beverages.
Utah Venom. Utah Venom was one. Did I say that? Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, be interesting. It'll actually be watchable for us Bay Area hockey fans for the first time.
I just hope the building's back to what it was. Like, I mean, it's just been no atmosphere there.
Mm-hmm.
Last few years, and rightfully so, because they were shit.
But now #the future is teal. So apparently, I mean, I saw that on so many billboards and stuff when I was back in the Bay Area for work recently. Like, clearly there's a marketing blitz by the Sharks to be like, we're going to be good again. Get in on the ground level. And I'm like, you better be, because you've sucked ass for 6 years.
I mean, they're doing it the right way. How they're building it through the draft, getting younger. But no, they said it, and I think when they hired Warsofsky in the press conference, the president of the team said it was the best May and June they've ever had as a franchise in terms of like sales, like jerseys. They won the lottery, all this stuff. Like, here we go, and yeah.
What's it going to take for you to get that Celebrini jersey? First of all, have you already got it? And secondly, what do you need to see early in the season, if not?
Oh, I don't need to see much, because I would already had it if they weren't like $500.
Because you only do the fully authentic, yeah, of course.
Well, I'll do one of them, just because I don't. Yeah, but I might need Kayla to go back to work before I do that.
Priorities, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like she's been like really good about, like, she doesn't really buy herself anything ever. It's really everything for Luke. And be like, yeah, I bought this jersey, $500.
She'd be like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. No more fucking Taco Bell for you. No more fucking Jack in the Box for you.
Oh my God, we had Taco Bell last.
What was your Taco Bell order before we close the pod? Just you.
3 burritos and 3 regular, just bean cheese burritos and 3 regular tacos. Not
okay for you. That's pretty freaking tame.
But I think she orders food and like doesn't eat it all, and I end up eating it. So I think I ate more than that.
Yeah. I'll never forget the first time we went to freaking McDonald's together, and you ordered like 2 double quarter pounders, 2 large fries, and a milkshake, and you were like, "All right, I'm good until tomorrow." I'm like, "I certainly hope so." And
yeah, I'm still that way. Like, I don't eat very much, but when I do, I feel like the Dos Equis guy. It was like, what was it? Is that the right one?
Yeah, I don't eat very much, but when I do, I prefer.
When I do,
I prefer 2,000 calories of just burgers.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to call it a pod. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again next week, hopefully to recap a Niners victory where they got back on track. Man, it's been such a wild start to the season. Hope everybody who's been listening has had a good start to the year with your team and your fantasy teams. We'll be back again next week to recap. And thanks again for subscribing and sharing. And a lot of people actually reached out after the last couple pods about the A's and about, how good the Vikings have been doing to start. So I appreciate that, folks. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the You Like That Feels Great Baby podcast.